You're in Braves country.
Afternoon, I guess I should say, unless you are in the Central Time Zone, and it is opening day. And let's be honest, there's no greater day than opening day. And so we're going to get into this really quick. These are going to be quick this year, y'all. We're doing these 12 p.m. shows when the series begins, just to give anyone who might have missed the memo. We're going to do these, and they're going to be around 20 minutes, somewhere in that neighborhood. And they're really just to give you an idea of what there is to expect. Now, yesterday, a couple of the writers tweeted out that they were going to have the opening day rosters ready by 9:30 a.m. And I thought that was odd. But as most of them are known to do, I think they were drinking a little bit and not thinking about the fact that they were on West Coast time. So the rosters actually won't drop till 12:30. So we'll react to them on the first pitch because we're going to be done by then. That is a very, very quick deal that we're planning on doing, is getting in and out of here today, like I said, about 20 minutes or so. And so we got a couple of things that we're doing today. Now, we've got 3 clips that I want to play for you. And it's Alex Anthopoulos talking about the new year. And then also on top of that, we've got a couple of clips we won't be able to get to that we're going to play during the game today as a part of the commercial breaks. So with that being said, the first 2 that I'm going to get into, we're going to play one and then kind of react and then play the other one. They're all basically talking about the same thing, which is the catcher position for your Atlanta Braves. Obviously, Drake Baldwin is going to be on the opening day roster, and we fully expect him to contribute quite a bit in the days to come. They're expecting Murphy to be back somewhere in the next 2 weeks. But let's talk about Smurf first, and then we'll talk about Baldwin as we get you ready for the San Diego series.
Look, he had been, if you look at the track record, had been a fantastic player. Even that 23 season where it was tale of 2 halves. He was incredible in the first half and starting catcher for the All-Star game, and then tailed off in the second half. And the oblique injury definitely threw him off, and we had a lot of studies that we did and the impact of oblique injuries in terms of in season and how it impacts you and so on. There's just too long a track record, and then he's also a young player too. So even in 23 with half a season, he was, if you're into war and stuff like that, he's a 5-win player, at least in our own stuff, which is really valuable. Those are elite superstar players at premium spots, and guys love throwing to him. And look, it's hard to quantify. He's as good as you're going to find. Even last year, we led the league. I'm not saying it was all him because he missed a ton of time, but when he was back there, the ERAs were phenomenal as well. And look, he has power, got great defensive skills, and I do think he's going to bounce back and be that elite player again. So right now, it's just talk. He's going to have to get healthy and play, but he's starting to take at bats down in Florida, and we're already starting to map out when we're going to get him to Gwinnett to get going. But hopefully, it's only a few weeks here, and he's back to being an all-star again.
So there you have that. Once again, I kind of have to agree with a couple of the guys who were talking about this a few weeks ago all around Braves country, basically saying that they believe that Smurf's injury is going to be baked into the excuse. It's almost like they're already making an excuse why he's not going to play well this year. I hope to hell they're wrong. I am on the fence about Sean Murphy. The last couple of years, he's just been bad. And it really was the tail end of 23 and all of 24. And if you look at it, he really only shined that first half of 2023. Everybody got excited about it because him and Travis d'Arnaud were just going back and forth in the lineup. It was working great. They were both hitting well. Well, maybe this year he gets a few more at-bats and gets more consistent. But if he's out there muddling around the Mendoza line, hitting 12 home runs, and though he's above average behind the plate, it's not like he's lights out. He's not Johnny Bench or Benito Santiago. So I will take a lesser defensive player if it means more offense, like Drake Baldwin. Here's his thoughts on Drake Baldwin.
Yeah, I think we're open-minded to it. So depending on how he plays, we've talked about this extensively during the winter and as a front office and even with Snit and the coaches when we got to spring training. And because of his position, and we believe in the bat so much that, again, depending on how he does up here and so on, look, there is a world where maybe he doesn't play as well or maybe he needs to get his bat going. But let's say he's playing at a high level. He's swinging the bat really well, doing a great job defensively and so on. Yeah, there's a world that our best team could be Drake Baldwin, Sean Murphy. We'll do that. And there's still a ton of value to him being at the big league level and learning all the intricacies of game planning and catching and just the routine and everything that's involved. And that gives Snit options, having a left-handed bat and so on. So that would certainly be on the table for us to do that. That being said, if the performance is solid or okay, we might say, look, we think he needs to work some things out. He needs to work on some things defensively. Then we'll make that adjustment. But we're not locked in one way or the other. I do think because of his position, there is a world that he could tandem with Sean and be a backup because he could still get a lot of development. But I think it will definitely be predicated on his performance up here and what's best for him as well as what's best for the team.
All right, so there you have that, and we're going to play another clip here in a few minutes, but wanted to get into a couple of things. The clip that I have coming up kind of talks about the idea of how restricted we are on the salary tax and what the Braves are doing in the offseason, and kind of puts some things to rest, to be honest with you, about, I say it's a misperception for Braves fans that think that the Braves aren't willing to spend. I've always said that going into last offseason, coming into this year, that I do believe they would break the salary tax, and I do believe they would be willing to give up a draft pick, but it's got to be for a smart deal, and it's got to be a game changer. They're not just going to blow salary to blow salary when this team is pretty well stacked. And remember, now, even with the late additions that we just made, we still have some money to play with at the trading deadline to add what is most likely going to be bullpen depth. And I know a lot of people have scoffed at it. I don't really care when it's all said and done, but that's what it's all about, is the fact that they want some salary flexibility to be able to go out and make a move at the deadline. Realize last few deadlines we've made very little moves, and most of them, actually the biggest one that we've made was the Jorge Soler one, talking about financially. And realistically, the Braves are looking to make a real run, and if we're in it, I don't see them being restrained by salary per se, but now you got a little bit to play with. All right, let's go with the series itself, and then I'll play you that clip. The series lines up like this, y'all. We've got Chris Sale on the mound on opening day. He's going to go up against Michael King. Most of y'all are probably well aware, but Michael King is a very good starting pitcher. I don't know if he's a number one on many teams, but he's damn sure easily a number two. And they've gone through some change in the offseason, and the Dylan Cease questions. Dylan Cease, we will face him on Friday versus Raylo, and those are two really good pitching matchups. And then as of right now, and I'll double check one more time, but as of right now, just before we came on the air, the Padres had not announced their pitching matchups for the weekend. And looking at this right now, they still haven't. And, well, actually, Sunday's going to be Nick Pivetta, so they did finally update that, but they have not announced a starter on Saturday. So Saturday is going to be Schwellenbach versus question mark of the Padres. And then on Sunday, they have flip-flopped the starters to put A.J. Smith-Shawver on the mound on Sunday night versus Nick Pivetta, which means that Garrett Holmes is going to go on the bump on Monday when they have to go to L.A. and face the Dodgers. And the Dodgers are putting Glasnow on the mound. And I think that's probably a pretty good decision. It's got nothing to do with their stuff. It's the fact that there's already going to be a ton of pressure on A.J. Smith-Shawver to perform well. But you add that to the fact that not only will A.J. Smith-Shawver need to perform well, but now he's going against the Dodgers lineup, which is the best lineup and arguably a much more difficult pitching matchup, and to the point of giving the Braves the best chance to win, and also, more importantly, don't kill the confidence of the SSAJ right out the gate. So, and look, it's not ideal. We're going to go up against Grant Holmes and Glasnow. It is what it is. When we go into Dodger Stadium, 3-game series, honestly, most teams are going to believe this, and they're going to say this across the board. Most teams are going to be happy if you take one of 3 games in L.A. But we'll talk about that on Monday. You're just trying not to get swept. We are going, if you look at the big picture across the division, we have a tough opening week. The other teams in our division do not. The Phillies are playing the Nats. The Mets do have to play at Houston, but then when they come home, I think they play the Marlins twice, and in between. Anyways, I looked at the Mets schedule. It's a cakewalk for a hot minute. The Phillies do have to face the Dodgers right after we face them, but they're going to face them at home. So we're going to be probably looking up in the standings unless we get off extraordinarily hot in the first week or so. That's okay. You're not going to win the division in March and April, but you could lose it, and you just want to make sure that the losses don't mount. But like I said, this weekend it's going to be Sale versus King today, Raylo versus Cease tomorrow, and then Schwellenbach on Saturday. It'll be the SSAJ against, who did I say, Pivetta, I believe. Yeah, Pivetta, Nick Pivetta. So they've got good pitching. They've got a pretty good offense. Honestly, I kind of expect the Braves to at least split this series. I love our chances today. I think we've got a really good chance tomorrow as well. Dylan Cease has not been shut down. He also hasn't gotten off to great starts. The A.J. Smith-Shawver start on Sunday is very iffy. Nick Pivetta, a veteran, a solid veteran who's been very good for a long time. That's going to be a tough one. And then I would think Saturday we're going to be favored. They haven't released who they're starting yet, but we're going to have Schwellenbach on the mound, and I love that. So I do believe we have a very good chance of winning opening day. I do believe that Saturday is a game that we need to win. And if we could win one of these others on either Friday or Sunday, we could win a series on the road against a very good Padres team. Now, the one thing I do want to hit up, because I realized I didn't get to it during the preseason show, and I don't want to skip that again. I had it jotted down, and I had, for whatever reason, I'd marked it off. But when you're doing 19 things at once, your mind kind of wanders, and the next thing I know, I'd ended the show. I don't believe I gave you the actual AL and NL matchups that I have for 2025 in the World Series. I think I told you that I had the Yankees winning the AL pennant, and I do believe that is going to be the case. I think it's going to be a tough one, but I just believe it in there. Even with them losing Cole and a couple other guys who are on the mend right now, I still think their depth and their pitching on a 162-game season, they get into October, that bullpen's going to be elite. The Yankees are going to go out, if they're in it, they're going to make a move for a starting pitcher. So that's why I have the belief that the Yankees are going to find a way, the way back to the Fall Classic. But it's going to be what I think the whole world wants to see: Red Sox Yankees in the AL, which should be a lot of fun. I do have the Red Sox winning the division, the Yankees winning the wild card, but the Yankees flip the script on them and go to the World Series. In the National League, I just think it's damn near impossible to predict anything but the Dodgers on one side, and obviously I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves on the other side. I think this is a year that we keep it together. I'm not worried about the Phillies. Everybody keeps talking about the Phillies and the depth of their pitching, and they're acting as though the Philadelphia Phillies are just this unbelievable juggernaut when it comes to pitching, starting pitching. They're not, even if you want to make the argument that they are better than the Braves, which I still think that's a huge if, they're not that dominant. They got Luzardo going on day 2. We've got Raylo. I would take my chance with that any day of the week. In the third day of the season, they have Aaron Nola. We're going to have Schwellenbach. I will take my chances with Schwellenbach over an aging Aaron Nola. And I just look at the depth of the Phillies and, Christopher Sanchez. He's good. He's solid, but the Braves have gotten to him before. So I don't necessarily think that he's necessary. And realize when we get Strider back, that's a hell of a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch. You're talking about Sale, Raylo, Schwellenbach, and Strider. If we can keep those guys healthy, that's as good of a starting 4, which is all you use in the postseason. You don't really go with a 5-man rotation in the postseason. You worry about the bullpen. So I'll take the Braves' chances, and I do think the Braves are going to upset the Dodgers. I think it's going to be a fun season, or fun October. And I'm also going to say that I believe that it'll be the Braves, Yankees, and the Braves winning in 6, And I'll even go one better for you. So not only are the Braves going to win it in 6 against the Yankees, it'll be his first actual fall classic, his second ring, because he was on the roster. Ronald Acuna Jr. ends up being the World Series MVP. Because by then he should be rolling, and he'll be a catalyst. He'll be the straw that stirs the drink, right? And I believe that he could and for that matter, Spencer Strider, they just normally don't give it to pitchers, but Spencer Strider could very well be in the mix for the World Series MVP as well. I don't think either one of them take home hardware like MVP or Cy Young this year, just because there's going to be restrictions on their at-bats, et cetera, et cetera. But by the time we get to October, it's go time. All right, let's hit the salary tax and what Anthopoulos had to say about that.
Yeah, so I can tell you that there was a deal we were strongly considering that would have put us over the tax, and we liked the player. Ultimately, what stopped the deal from happening was just the length of the commitment. So, it was going to impact us, right? Taxes for 2025. I think if the player we were acquiring was a shorter commitment than ultimately what it took, we would have done it because it made our team better. So I think the biggest thing is finding the right fit, the right players, and not tying ourselves up going into it's managing the short term and the long term. So what we don't want to do is make a bunch of deals, and I can use examples of deals in other sports or deals in our sport that teams did a year ago that would love to undo them today. And at the time, everyone was excited and so on, and you're trying to dig out from beneath that. So look, there's a ton of good players out there, but I've always said this, there's only so much pie to go around. And as we're building our roster, we're trying to make sure that we're competitive year in and year out. And some of it is we've invested a lot of money in the bullpen over the years. And it's been fine to do that because we've had other players making a lot less money. But at some point, we're not going to spend $40 million in the bullpen or more, and we're going to start spreading it around. And as the Rileys and the Olsons and the Harrises and the Striders and all these other guys that we've signed, which we want them to, make more money and start to take up more of that pie, we're going to need to give people opportunities, and we're going to need to run the play out on some of these young players. So that's part of being sustainable. Every GM and coach and manager gets up in their press conference and says, sustainable success, or they talk about championships plural, which getting one's hard enough, or even competing for one. I think that the sustainability piece is really important, and it's tough. And I think you've seen a lot of people in baseball win World Series, and then they have to take a dip for 3, 4, 5 years, rebuild and so on. And, we're proud of the fact that we won a World Series, and then the next year was 101 wins, which hadn't been done in over 20 years. And then the year after that, it was 104. And then last year we still got back there, but it was 89. But we want to try to be in a position that we can do this year in and year out. And that's where you're going to see us having to take on some risk and get a Chris Sale, get a Ronaldo Lopez, convert him. And we're not going to be right on all these. We're definitely going to miss. But that's the model for us going forward, and we're going to have to shoot on some upside because we've made so many commitments to players.
Okay, so everything that he laid out, no lies told there. I think it's funny, he talked about it later, but he didn't really give any real insight, so I decided not to share it. But basically, Anthopoulos was saying that there was a free agent out there this year that they were heavily in on, and it wasn't the AAV, meaning he was willing to spend over the tax. It wasn't that he didn't like the number of years, so you can fill in your own blank. There's a lot of speculation on what he meant. It could have been a pitcher. It could have been, remember Hoffman got a pretty good salary, and that was one of the ones that he was rumored to be interested in. I think the whole thing with Hoffman fell apart because of the issue with his physical that fell through, because it was the Braves and there was a second team before Toronto signed. They both pushed it aside because of that. I find it interesting, and this is one of the reasons why I play fantasy baseball, so I know what the hell's going on around the league, because I'm constantly reading updates and everything. Hoffman is expected to be in their bullpen. And if that ends up being a thing, that's a flop for the Blue Jays. Now, who knows? Maybe that's just something that they're going to slowly transition. But they're talking about him basically being a closer, and they didn't pay him like he was going to be a reliever. They paid him with the length of that contract to be a starter. And I thought it was an odd one. It's like the Clay Holmes thing with the Mets. They hope to get something like Lopez, what the Braves got out of Raylo. I give that a much better chance because I've always liked Clay Holmes' makeup. It's just going to be the question is going to be his durability, how many innings he can give you. I do want to say hi to everybody in the chat real quick before we send out of here, and I got a couple other things that I want to show you. Good to see you. So we got John. I know I saw Envy, Robert, Goat, Jillian. I think I saw Charles. Gary, I believe, is in here. If I'm missing, there's James. I'm trying to scroll. And Garrett, good to see you. And the one that I have to scroll with, I don't know about y'all, but Macs are very durable. Talking about the computer, not me. I fall apart. But but I don't like the way they're set up. But that's what I have to look at when I'm scrolling through this, and that's why it's always kind of a pain. But anyways, what do we have here? Nathaniel, good to see you. And once again, we're going to be going pitch by pitch, play by play at 4:00, 4:10. We're going to replay this audio as we will do every single opening day of the series. Opening day of every series, we're going to be here at noon. And I know it's going to take a while for folks to come in and get used to this. So I didn't expect a big crowd. It doesn't look like we have a very big crowd today, which is fine because we're trying to make this a steady habit of Monday and Thursday or Friday, depending on when a series begins. We're going to go over the series in about 20, 25 minutes, and then we'll replay the audio for everybody who might have missed it. We just can't play the video because it turns into a real S show when you talk about trying to bring you the game too on top of it right after it. But first pitch will be 4:10 today. You'll see if you see us come on the air again around 3:00, it's going to be because we're replaying this. I do want to show you a couple of things. So we're adding a couple of emojis, and just so you know what the hell they look like, I want to put them on the screen. We'll probably do a little bit of this during the ball games themselves. We won't leave them up long, but this is our quacking duck. You know how when we talk about there's ducks all over the pond, and I'm always playing this sound right here. So that's a new emoji that we're going to be using, and that's it. But obviously, you don't see it as well when you're on your phone and whatnot. So just wanted to let you know what it actually looks like. Like I said, from time to time, we'll put it up there, but we're not always going to put it up there. You'll just know what that means. And then this is our new Braves Country Radio mascot. We haven't named yet. We're going to name it today. We're going to put the best suggestions on the poll today. So anybody else had any suggestions? We got 3 already lined up that we're going to put in. And the one that's most popular, and we're taking a couple of votes around from other entities, but we're heavily going to look upon what name y'all like the most and obviously keep it clean. But this will be the guy that we're using for the rallies. When the Braves are on a rally, if we're trailing, we just get a guy on, lead off double, you can use it as a rally because we wanted something that's kind of encompassed the whole thing that just means that, hey, this is our rally mascot here on Braves Country. So it'll be something like rally something rally. That'll be the nickname. But I think that's about all I got, I believe. Let me look at this. The Mets play the Astros, by the way. I think we talked about the Phillies are at the Nats. So the Braves playing the Padres. This is a big series to start off, and hopefully we get off on the right foot. We're going to have Chris Sale on the mound. So I do believe that he's going to pitch well today. Now, obviously, we don't make picks to click with pitchers, but I expect him to go at least 5, if not 6 innings today. And I think his over-under in strikeouts right now is 5.5. I think he's probably going to get that. But you never know because it's opening day and you can go out there and lay an egg and be terrible and the sky will be falling and he'll be fine because he won the Cy Young last year, and I'm not worried about him having a big fall off, and he's looked pretty good during the spring as well. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game because Michael King is the real deal, and usually the pitching is in front of the hitting at the beginning of the season. So give me the Braves to win this one today in a low-scoring affair. I'll take 4-2, in my pick to click, man, I honestly want to go. I'm so tempted to go with someone like the Drake or something like that, someone who's new, but that might be a little bit too much. So give me Riley to rake today. I'm going to take Austin Riley to click, and we will see y'all at 4:10. First pitch supposed to be beautiful today. What'd they say? 63 degrees and 10 miles an hour will be the wind. It's blowing from left in to right center field. So it shouldn't have a huge effect on the fly balls unless it picks up, obviously. But it's supposed to be a beautiful, perfect day for baseball. Y'all have a great one, Braves country. And make sure to share, like, subscribe. We're trying to take this. We're trying to get to 35. We just went over 35. We're trying to get to 40,000 subscriptions by the All-Star break. And we obviously can't do it without any of y'all. So, and I look forward to this. We had a great time during the spring training, but I look forward to opening day because it's the first real test. And I look forward to spending the entire summer with this Braves Country Radio family. We'll see you 4:10 first pitch. Let's go.